Welcome to this edition of Insider Secrets, the weekly podcast that turns real estate investing goals into reality. Each show, we interview guests who are seasoned real estate professionals, actively closing and managing real estate deals. Mike is the founder of My Core Intentions and would like to help you make your real estate investing dreams a reality. Mike coaches you to buy investment real estate, creating short-term cash flow and long-term wealth. Your host and real estate coach, Mike Morawski, has more than 30 years of real estate investing and property management experience. Here's your host, Mike.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and buckle up. You know what time it is. Glad that you're here this morning. If you're joining us for the first time, go grab a cup of coffee and sit back because we're in for a treat this morning. My guest this morning, we met for the first time just before we got on, and I knew instantly that there was a connection. So I'm looking forward to this interview this morning. Hey, if you're here, like us, love us, subscribe if you're out on YouTube this morning. But we're here bringing you great content, a great guest about multifamily or investing or how to invest in real estate, multifamily real estate. So we're going to talk about that. But you know me, I always want to talk about intentions. What are you being intentional about this weekend? Have you had some things that you need to catch up on from the week or through the weekend at home? What do you need to do? What are you being intentional about? I always tell people, I say, listen, when you are working through some of your things, the things that you need to put together, are you sitting down? Are you taking that quiet time? Are you journaling it out and getting it on paper so that they say that you write your goals, you're more successful in your goals? It's the same thing with our intentions. So I just encourage you to continue to be intentional about what you do on a daily basis, a weekly basis. That's what grows us or helps us grow personally so that we can grow professionally. All right, my guest this morning, Doug Peacock from Fortville, Indiana. And I said, where is Fortville, Indiana? He said, that's outside of Indianapolis. So not too far from Chicago this morning. So Doug's a former football coach. And today we're going to talk about infinite banking and how you can use that system in passive investing in real estate. So let me bring Doug in real quick. Doug, how we doing?
Good morning, Mike. It's great to be with you this morning in your crowd. Thanks.
Yeah, you as well. So appreciate you being here. What's the weather like down there today?
We got a little rain, woke up to some thunderstorms, but it's clearing out now. So it's probably going to get cold. And probably the stuff that you're experiencing is going to be here this afternoon.
Yeah, we're getting some heavy rain now, but they were saying it was going to snow today.
Oh.
But we'll see what comes through. I guess my sister lives about an hour west of me in Crystal Lake because I'm in the city. And she said that it was snowing there already this morning.
Yeah.
We'll see. You know, it's Chicago. What do you expect, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's always interesting. I spoke last week at a number of events up in Wisconsin. And I was in Green Bay, Appleton, and Kenosha last week. And when I had left Appleton after speaking that night and was leaving to go to Kenosha, and I was saying, boy, I was so grateful for how nice the weather was. The sun was shining. I got south of Appleton, blanketed snowstorm, snowing sideways, couldn't see. It was a whiteout. And got close to Milwaukee and it dissipated, but it was just nuts for a little bit. So you never know what to expect in the Midwest, right?
And if you don't like it, hang around because it's fixing to change.
That's right, for sure. Hey, Doug, one question I always ask my guests when I kick the show off is, in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Yeah, win, W-I-N. And there's a whole different story there, but WIN truly stands for what's important now. And I'm not a win at all cost guy. I don't think that ever works, but I think you got to understand, and your lead into what you talked about, intentionality, is huge. You don't have to be perfect. In fact, there's never been a perfect parent, but you better be intentional or they will rule the roost. I mean, I've had 3 and I got 5 grandkids, so I understand that.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is you got to be intentional about your life if you're going to win. And it's not going to happen by accident.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people say I can't accomplish that. Well, do you take the efforts or the steps to get there to accomplish that? Whatever.
Yeah.
The word win has come up a lot lately in my life, right? I read a book a couple months back by Tim Grover called Winning. And Grover was the personal coach for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. And you're not a stranger to coaching.
No, sir. No, sir. I've read that book and I recommend it highly for anyone who intends to win.
Yeah.
Great book.
It is. And I like what you just said, who intends to win.
Yep.
Because maybe some people have the notion they'd like to win, but do they really intend to win?
We all want to win. Everybody wants to win, right? But the bottom line is, how are you going to win? Now, that's the next step, though.
Yeah.
Because your plan's not going to go as you planned it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So what makes you a winner? Is it physical ability? Is it activity? Is it the intention? What is it that makes somebody win?
I think you have to start with mindset. Every time you got to start with mindset, and your number one asset is you. And if you will guard your mindset and make sure that you're thinking clearly and not emotionally, and then turn around and make sure that you are adding value to you, make sure you're doing, and that's why I love real estate people. If you don't understand real estate, please do not invest in real estate. Because you're going to be that guy they're talking about. So the point is, understand what you're doing. You're not going to be perfect at it. You're not even going to be good. That's why they call it practice. All right. But the truth is, I can be intentional. I can learn. And the business I have now, I had no intentions of doing any of this, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a high school football coach.
Yeah, let's get into that, Doug. Talk about your background a little bit, because obviously if you're talking about winning, you've got to have a winning background, right? And that, I'm sure you had some great wins in high school football. Did you say basketball, coach?
Nope, football.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. I got Grover on my mind now.
Yeah, well,
the basketball piece, but
that's okay.
Yeah, but go ahead, talk about your background a little bit.
Well, I grew up in rural Indiana, very meager family. Nobody had been to college. These guys showed up at high school and wanted to talk about playing football. And I was so naive at that point. Now, you got to understand, this is early 70s. But I didn't understand what they were talking about. And thank God my coach was with me, because he walked out of there with me and says, "You don't have a clue what they're talking about, do you?" Coach, I said, "It sounds like if I play football, they pay for college." He says, "That's all you got to know." So I ended up playing football, and then my ability ran out, and I ended up coaching because I couldn't play anymore. So let's go coach. And
you go to college on a scholarship?
I did. Played at Indiana University down in Bloomington.
All right.
And absolutely loved it. And stuck in high school, and then wound up down in Central Florida near Kissimmee, St. Cloud. And everybody thinks Disney World. We call it the Mouse Factory, by the way. Everybody thinks that's in Orlando. No, you're in Osceola County. You're in Kissimmee. So if you get that southern draw from me, that's exactly where it's from, because I spent way too long down and loved it. Don't get me wrong. But we moved back for family. We didn't have any family down there. I had 3 kids, so I wanted them growing up with grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles and cousins and all that. And so that's why we moved back.
Yeah, nice. So talk a little bit about some of your experiences coaching. I think that I'm a coach, right? I coach people in real estate and some mindset, performance, things like that. But talk about some of your connections with coaching and the shaping of those kids.
Well, the bottom line is, I have a huge advantage over a lot of coaches who are trying to coach. I had something they wanted, and it's called playing time. And if you don't want to do it our way, then you don't get what you want. So I don't know. I loved it. I don't think it's always the best athlete that wins. We had a very, very different system. We were a wing T football team, for those of you who are in football. And every time I talk to somebody, defensive coaches, what do you hate to see? What do you hate? Well, wing team, well, shucks, if they hate it, then that means I'm going to go learn it.
Yeah.
And I did. And I had a couple guys that coached with me from Tennessee whose high school coaches had run it for 20 or 30 years. And that was my resource. To me, everything is still football. I still coach also. All right. My body doesn't have to take any of the hits that we sometimes took out there. And I think I can do this a long time. But the bottom line is athletics, period. And I don't care I don't even care that it's athletics. It could be something else. But you've got to have something else that's going to require time outside the school day. And it is, parents, listen to me. I don't care what it is, but find something that your kid helps other kids be a part of something bigger than themselves that's outside the school.
Wow, that's huge. What you just said right there, parents, help your kids learn to help other kids do something big.
I mean, you coach, where does your thrill come from?
Oh, my thrill comes from helping somebody turn the light on. And all of a sudden now all the pieces start to come together. I'll give you a great example, right? I have a coaching client who we've been working on underwriting for the last several months. And all of a sudden, about 2 weeks ago, and I shouldn't say several months, probably about 6 weeks. And about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, he goes, I got it. He goes, this happens and this happens and this happens. And I said, you got it. You understand it now. And when somebody gets it, there's a thrill about that as being their coach, isn't there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When the light goes on. But that's where Peacock Wealth Group came from. I had no intentions of doing any of this. Okay. I was a huge get out of debt fan, and I wanted people to be out of debt. And I'd done everything I was told to do and did what I did. And then I sat down and looked what my retirement's going to look like. And there's this big red expanding sash across the paper. And it's real pretty, but what is that? And that was the money that I was short. And I said, well, don't you think maybe we should have had this conversation 5 years ago and not 60 days before I'm out of the classroom? So I got honked off. I really did. My PNC guy, my house and auto guy, knew that I was an out of debt guy. He says, hey, I want you to go listen to this guy. And that ended up being Nelson Nash. Now, Nelson has since taken his final graduation to heaven. But when I heard him, he was 84 years old and did a 6-hour seminar by himself. And he was 84. And I'm just telling you, there's a resource for you. Go out and listen to Nelson Nash. But that's where I learned. And then as soon as I heard that, I sat down with a couple of guys and I learned that I could use this warehouse, if you will, to store money, to store capital, that my kids who were in student loan debt, which by the way is 1.7 trillion as we talk today, how's that working out for you? Let's find a different plan, okay? Because it's not working. But bottom line is I had my former student athletes that had gone to college, got the degrees, but now had this student loan that was hanging over their head big time. They couldn't even buy a house. I mean, it was just killing them. And I learned how to use that to pay off their student loans. So here we are 5 years later, they're out of their student loans with $50,000 sitting in a cash value account. That's not a bad place to be at 25, 26 years old.
Not at all. And what's the formula around that, Doug?
Well, it's infinite banking. That's the whole process. And people want to tie infinite banking to a product, and it's not. It's a process of banking. Have you ever noticed how profitable the banks are?
Oh, yeah.
We just come out of the lowest interest rate known to this planet.
Doug, I notice more how stingy they are.
Well, I always said they'll give you your umbrella as long as the sun is shining. So the bottom line is I just want you to take control of the banking function of the banking processes in your life. And when you control those, every time the bank moves money, somebody gets paid. Why can't that be you?
Right. And
everybody wants to tie it to a certain product or this product. I don't care if you use a can in your backyard. Infinite banking can do that. But go pick an asset that's guaranteed to grow.
So for the people that don't know that term, infinite banking, and that is, explain to them, Doug, what it is.
Sure. We're going to create a warehouse for your capital. Okay? And like you said, they get stingy with it. Talk to somebody that went through 2008. What's the first thing to get wiped out when times get tough? And it's access to capital, right? I mean, there were HELOCs withdrawn and limited. There were lines of credit canceled. And the bottom line is you got to have a way to get capital. So we literally use a very special, uniquely designed whole life policy. Now, this is not your grandpa's policy. This is very different. But it allows you access to your money while it's guaranteed to grow. So that's why I picked whole life. I want my infinite banking based on an asset that is guaranteed to grow. You could do it with real estate and housing, but as we learned, they don't always go up.
So let's talk about the mechanics behind that. I go and open a whole life policy with you, and I put, let's say I fund it with, what's the minimum I can fund that with?
It works for you.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not going to limit it to that. And there's more to that story, but let's follow what you're going on first.
Okay. So let's just say I fund that with $50,000. How soon do I have access to that capital?
You're going to give up use of part of that $50,000 because of underwriting costs, the cost of insurance, the administrative costs, and things like that for the insurance company.
Okay.
In 30 days, you're going to have access to a portion of that money.
Okay.
Now, what portion is available to you depends on your age, depends on your health status. It also depends on gender, because women don't do stupid stuff that men do. Okay. That's why they're cheaper to insure. It's also why my first policy was on my wife and not me. So the point is, the numbers work. So instead of seeing this as a insurance bill, it wound up being a storehouse for capital, because eventually I'm going to make more money than I put in. Okay. So not only does it grow with interest, which, by the way, once it's credited to your account, you can't lose it either. It's going to grow more next year than it did this year.
So inside that policy, there's a component also that helps that money grow. So it doesn't just sit there stagnant, right?
No.
Okay. So now let's talk about some more mechanics, Doug. So if I put this money in this policy, and then I take that portion that I can use back out, and I invest it in a real estate transaction, and that real estate transaction is earning money. When we're done and we cycle out of that real estate transaction, do I just put all that money back in that policy?
You can, if the policy will hold it. Okay. So we opened up some I love the way you're going, but we opened up some cans of worms here.
Okay.
So, truthfully, Mike, the difference is you got to have the right coach, because this policy has to be, remember, I told you it was special and uniquely designed. So it's got to be designed for minimum death benefit, maximum cash value. Yes, it's going to grow, but I can help that policy out a lot if I put more of your savings over there. Now, the problem is that requires that I take a 50 to 70% cut in my commissions. Well, the nice part is I don't have to make a living doing this. All right. I got my pensions, I got my retirement, everything's cooking. But man, can I change your world for capital? Absolutely. But it's not going to be done overnight. I tell people everything I do is a crock pot. It's not microwaves. If you think it's a microwave, I'm not your guy. But the bottom line is, yes, that money's going to grow. Now, let's say you've got $50,000 in there, okay? And yet, bingo, here's this chance to buy into a real estate deal for $25,000, okay? Guys, I don't have to do credit checks. I don't have to do profit loss statements. I don't have to do last 3 years. It's literally 1-800. In fact, now, once you're established, it's literally a couple of clicks on a computer. But until you're established, it was 1-800, send me some money.
Yeah.
Are you ready to skyrocket your investment portfolio and leave a legacy? Are you tired of inconsistent returns received in the stock market? Do you think it may be time to take a look at alternative investment options for your portfolio? Passive investing in multifamily real estate could be that option. With no tenants, trash, or toilets, providing a solid return on an annual basis that outperforms traditional investing, also receiving a monthly or quarterly return along the way. These lower risk and secure assets are a great hedge against inflation. If you want to learn more about these types of opportunities, you can email me directly to schedule a 15-minute consultation to see if you qualify. Just email me at mike@mikemorawski.com.
So the neat part is, yes, how much do you want and where do you want it sent? That's the two questions. So there's no hoops to hop through. And it's specially designed that way too, because the insurance company can't lose. Because all you did was leverage your death benefit. Okay. So if you borrowed 25, and let's say you put your $50,000 in there, like you talked about, which bought you a $1 million policy. And then you took out 25 and then you died. Well, they're going to take the death benefit minus the 25 because they already gave you 25.
Got it.
But you're going to suffer through.
Got it. Well, what happens if you do a real estate deal and the real estate deal goes bad and you lose the money?
So here's the neat part. When I take that 25 out of there, that's not my money. That's the insurance company's money. Okay? So that allows me, my 50,000 continues to grow over here, even though I've leveraged it for 25. Now, the deal goes bad, you better find a way to improve your real estate skills.
Yeah. I always wanted to ask that question. We always are focused on the point that the deal's not going to go bad. But what if? I'm a what if guy. I like to ask those questions. So what I heard you just say, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I put 50 in, I borrow 25 or take 25 out to passively invest in a real estate offering, I'm still earning money in the policy on the entire 50,000?
Yes, sir.
So the interest rate that policy kicks off, that coupon on your $50,000 still earns at that rate. Plus I have 25,000 in this real estate offering over here that's earning whatever that's earning.
Yes, sir.
So this is really, and I love to talk to people about creating generational wealth. This is a play that allows people to create that long-term generational wealth, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about a couple other things here. Not only is your money, your 50,000 going to continue to grow, but every year that we only use certain insurance companies. Not every insurance company will let you do this policy. Okay. And so you got it. Please I don't care if you use me or not. I don't care, but get a good coach.
Yeah.
Okay. Let them coach you through this, because if you get the wrong coach, the wrong company, you're going to meet the IRS and they have no sense of humor. Okay. So we're going to use mutual companies. Now, why mutual? Because they have no stockholders. So every time this company turns a profit, excess profit, where does that have to go to? Because it's called a dividend. So where do the dividends go? Because there's no stockholders. Who this has to go to is the policy owners. Oh, that would be me. So not only does your cash value grow by interest, but it also grows by dividends. Now then, dividends are not guaranteed, but we use companies that have paid them well over 100 years consecutively. Now, I got it. It's not guaranteed, but I'm going to take that track record.
Sure.
Do the math. That means that somebody cashed a dividend check during the Great Depression. How weird were you?
Yeah. And that dividend goes right back into the policy and helps that policy grow.
Once it's into the cash value, it's just like interest. It will never disappear. It cannot be reduced. It cannot be recalled. It can't be minimized. It's going to sit in there, and it's going to earn whatever your policy is going to earn. Yep.
All right. Let's talk about bad news for a second. Is that life insurance policy subject to anything like, let's say, civil lawsuits, IRS debt, things like that?
And Micah, the answer to that is it depends on your state.
Okay.
The insurance is state regulated, not federally.
Okay.
So every state's a little bit different. But no, the truth, and let us know what Indiana is.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And yet, no, it cannot be attached to lawsuits. In fact, there are 6 IRS tax codes that prevent taxation of this account. Okay.
We'll talk about taxes for a minute too, Doug. So here, just the scenario again. I take 25,000 out of my whole life. I put it in this real estate offering. This real estate doubles my money. Okay, got a multiple of 2 on it. So I put 25 in. At the end of the day, I have 50, and I could be taxed capital gains on the 25 I earned. How does that work? Am I still taxed at capital gains? If it goes back in my insurance, are you free of tax, or how does that work?
I will tell you, the sale of real estate, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Now then, how the policy works though, is you can take that loan, no taxes. If you go borrow money for a car, are you charged money for the loan?
Sure.
Taxes?
Oh, no.
Interest, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Taxes?
Not taxes.
No.
Right.
So
Got
the
it.
same thing's true with this. Okay. So you're not charged any taxes on this. Now, for excess, and this, so remember, I told you minimum death benefit, maximum cash value. So who sets the limit on how much each and every policy can hold? And it's not the insurance company. It's the IRS.
Okay.
Time out. Why would the IRS care how much money is in there? Because it's tax exempt. There's not even a line on the 1040 to put this number. Okay. Now, you step over that line, the whole thing's taxable. Again, better have the right coach.
Right. And I always tell people, I say, hey, I'm not an accountant. Go get one that knows this stuff.
No, the companies that we work with, I mean, you get to sign about 7 sheets before they're going to let you MEC. It's called a modified endowment contract, is what it's called, MEC, M-E-C. And when that happens, it loses its tax favoredness. Guys, go study it. Nothing spends like life insurance money. Nothing. We are so protected on spending the money. And that's the problem right now. Nobody's teaching retirees how to spend the money. So we've all accumulated this huge pile of money, right? But if nobody teaches me how to spend it, I get to give all of it to either fees for investment or to the government.
Yeah.
So why not get rid of all of that, live on much less that you take out because it's tax free. So right. I tell people there's 2 piles of money. There's 5 million and 3 million. Now, if that's all you knew, everybody chooses the 5 million. Now, what if I said that the 5 million is going to kick off $200,000 a year? 4% rule. And I don't want to go in the weeds there, but that's a common rule. Okay. Problem is it's 100% taxable as income, by the way, not capital gains. Highest rates you can pay. The $3 million, however, sets in an infinite banking policy, and it can kick out $180,000 a year, absolutely 100% tax exempt. Which do you want?
Yeah, the 3 million.
In a heartbeat. I mean, this is almost coach proof. Even coaches can figure this one out. Right? So the bottom line is nobody's required to teach you how to spend your money on the backside. I will never recommend, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. You do what you want to do. But will I coach you the options? Absolutely.
And Doug, how do you fund these? Where do you find capital? Where does the average person find capital to fund these? Do they have to be funded all at once? Is it over time? What if somebody had equity in a rental property and they wanted to pull equity out of a rental property? Because you could do that tax-free. I can recapitalize a piece of real estate, do a cash out refinance, no taxes on that.
Right.
Could fund this, right?
Yes, sir. So when I started this business, I was using college kids, very young college kids. Well, they don't have any money.
Yeah. So
they were doing really small policies, but they were compounding it over and over and over and over. And then I teach them how to collateralize the money, leverage the money, go pay the student loan off. Now, instead of paying Sally Mae that payment, you're going to pay that Sally Mae payment back to the insurance company.
Sure.
And you just reestablish that fund again. So the next time the fund gets big enough to kill the next loan, we kill it too. And you just repeat the process over and over and over. Now, again, that MEC line that we talked about, going over too much, there's 2 times that I will let you MEC a policy. One is for college funding because it's absurd. And that's a whole nother show and a whole nother discussion.
Okay.
The other one is for real estate investors. Because yes, we can put in lump sum. I've had people throw 50, 400, 800 in. And yet, does that create a MEC? Yes. But I have up to that amount of money available. Again, tax-free.
Yeah.
And we'll just cycle it over and over and over. But the bottom line is, can it be done one time? Yes. Can it be done forever? Yes. Why would I ever want to put money into a life insurance policy forever? Because let's just say I go $1,000 a year. Not a lot of money. But if you'll watch that thing, sooner or later it starts making more than $1,000 a year. So now, do I really have an insurance bill? No.
Yeah.
I've got a capital account. All right. Oh, by the way, it's going to grow more next year, guaranteed. So let's run this thing out 20 years. Now all of a sudden I'm paying $1,000 a year, but it just made me 12 grand this year.
Yeah.
Why would you ever stop funding that?
Right.
And those numbers are all just examples. Please don't take that as gospel, because every policy is different. Again, based on your age, your gender, your health status, and all of that. But the bottom line is, if you will give me 7 years, I'll change your life.
So this really becomes a great way for the passive real estate investor and active investor, but the passive real estate investor to really build some wealth for themselves and for leaving a legacy. It's a direction for people to use.
It also gives you a place to store capital, safe, predictable growth until that deal comes along. So I've got farmers doing this, and they don't have to sell their corn when the market wants them to. They can pick the price that they want to sell that corn. Why? Because they did it with a policy loan. Who controls the payback on the policy loan?
You do.
You do. Oh, now, am I going to pay interest to the insurance company? Yes, I am. Simple interest. But I'm earning compound interest. By the way, as a PE major, I flunked that math test when I first started studying this. I knew that $30,000 at 5% for 5 years, I don't care if it was simple or compound, is the same dollar. And it's not. In fact, there's $4,200 difference on $30,000 in 5 years. It was my wife's car, by the way. Oh my gosh. I take a policy out of my loan and I make $4,200 just because I bought my wife's car. I was going to buy the wife's car anyway. Now, do not get that you can get rich by going out here and buying cars. You can't do that.
Right.
All right. No more than you can go out and buy real estate and get rich just because you got a bunch of real estate. It's a great way to go broke fast.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
The bottom line is, if I'm going to buy that car anyway, why not recoup every time that money moves that I get paid that money? And that's all we're doing.
Yeah. Well, Doug, listen, I really appreciate you being here this morning. We wind this down. I have a couple questions, but before we do that, as a winning coach, Doug, what's one piece of advice you want to give the listeners this morning?
Do what you love. You don't love real estate, find something else. I mean, I got guys that with this, they buy cows. And again, they're right back to the seed corn price. They can dictate when they buy their cows.
Yeah, right.
Right? Huge advantage. I got another guy that does high-end antique cars. All right? I mean, he spent $250,000 on a car. And I said, what are you doing? He says, hey, it's worth $700. I said, never mind.
Yeah, right.
And again, a real estate guy ended up getting a huge warehouse because he had $800,000 that he could write a check on. Didn't have to wait for a bank decision. Didn't have to wait for all the paper to fall. He could write the check. So he got a better price on the warehouse. Plus, he already had a vendor to go in the warehouse, and he was going to build out the warehouse for the vendor. I mean, this is win-win-win all the way down for this guy. Now, he wasn't a rookie and he knew what he was doing. But when we first started out, he says, this has got to be illegal. And that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah,
but I love that. It's not. So love what you do. Do it with passion.
Yeah, nice. Doug, what's the best book you've ever read?
Oh, that's the Holy Bible. The Bible. I mean, if you want a master's in finance, go read Proverbs. There's 31 of them. Go read one a day. And you'll have a master's in finance by the time a couple of months roll by. Just learn what that book says. It's not out of date.
2,000 verses in the Bible that talk about business and finance.
Oh, I don't have a problem believing any of that.
Hey, what's best tourist attraction you've ever seen?
Oh, I love Dunn's River Falls in Jamaica.
Oh.
Okay. My oldest son and his wife kind of hoodwinked me and my wife. We're going to go on this Dunn's River Falls tour, right? Go see it. It's literally a fast-going river, fast-flowing river with waterfalls and rapids and everything else out of a jungle. And it is beautiful. Little did I know he had signed us up to go up the falls. And I will tell you, I'm glad I did it, but I ain't doing that again. But it was beautiful.
Doug, it's been great having you here this morning. I appreciate you, your bundle of energy and knowledge as well. And I appreciate the knowledge. I've talked to other infinite banking people, and I have to say that I learned a lot this morning, and I hope my listeners did too. So how do people get a hold of you if they want to reach out and talk about infinite banking?
Guys, the easiest way is just go to Peacock Wealth Group, all one word, .com.
Perfect. Okay?
So it's just like the bird, wealthgroup.com, and phone number's there, email is there. There's actually a couple of books there. In fact, one of them is a free download. It was written for chiropractors, but if you can cross out chiropractor and put in real estate guy,
yeah.
The fundamentals are I just love what chiropractors do, and I owed a debt to a buddy, and so I wrote that for him and give it to chiropractors for free. All they got to do is you give me a name and an email, and you can have the book.
Nice. Doug, thanks for being here. I am going to go ahead. I'm going to move you out to the back room if you hang out with me for a minute.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Doug. Hey, everybody. Glad you were here this morning. And if you have comments or questions, don't hesitate to shoot me an email. I'll get those answered for you. Reach out to Doug. Talk to him. He's got a lot of knowledge around this banking process. And I like what he said in the very beginning, that this is not just a product. And it's not your father's whole life policy, because it is whole life on steroids. There's no doubt about that. Hey, thanks for being here. Make sure you tell somebody, like us, love us on social media. Please subscribe on YouTube. We are always bringing relevant content to you every day, as well as our live shows that come up, and you will get a ton of information, a ton of knowledge. Look around on the YouTube, because there's a ton of free content out there, something for everybody on real estate investing, how to source capital, how to use private equity, and different things that will work for you in your life. Glad you're here. If I can help you at all through the week, don't hesitate to give me a call or email me, and I will look forward to seeing you soon next week. Thank you. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for joining us for another great episode of Insider Secrets. As always, Insider Secrets is brought to you by My Core Intentions. Wherever you hang out on social media, you will find Mike and My Core Intentions. Please like and follow us to get the most up-to-date real estate investing trends. Visit mycoreintentions.com, where you can get expert coaching on all things real estate investing and property management. If you're looking to become an expert, Mike's coaching will help you scale your real estate investment business. We're looking forward to having you back again next week for more Insider Secrets.